Bill's always been kind of creepy towards Peggy, and I'm being rather kind by wording it that way, but I think this episode shows him go even a little bit too far for Bill.
Am I gonna have to kick your ass, BD?
You can't push me around anymore. I have the strength that comes from the love of a good woman.
You aren't married to Peggy!
Hey folks, welcome to Squirrel Tactics. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the Patreon, the merch store, the sister channel, all that good stuff. Anyway, let's just do this. Peggy's Fadeout. The title comes from the filmmaking term fade out, where something gradually fades away or fades to black, while also incorporating the fade, which is a hairstyle that originated in and is still popular within the black community. A nod to Bill working at a black barbershop, and Peggy because they fake kill her off. Yeah, I know some of you were disappointed that it was fake.
Uncle Hank, we're too late!
The episode starts with Peggy watching a gardening video from men. She does love the smell of roses and jockstraps.
Oh, this is kinda nice. And they smell so much better than jockstraps. Maybe to you.
From a channel called Minute of Zen, and that may be a nod to the Daily Show's whole Moment of Zen thing. Peggy unsubscribes from it and gets a message being declined for a job, possibly karma, possibly not, working at the local community college.
Heimlich County Junior College. Come for a visit, stay for the beauty school.
Now, she could have gone for a teaching position, but instead went for budget and finance director, so it should be no surprise why she didn't get it. If she wants a job, she can easily go back to teaching. They got this whole teacher shortage thing going on. They're begging for subs right now. Hank is watching the show's version of the Property Brothers, poor bastard, and Peggy tells him not to convert Bobby's room into a home office for her. They shortly discuss what they are going to do with it, and then they talk about Bobby being a busy restaurateur and how he gave up on his dreams of being on TV and making jokes. Meanwhile, at Robota Chain, Bobby is making jokes and trying to get on TV. Surprise, surprise, and his show of choice is King of the Grill.
Hi, I'm Bobby Hill, executive chef of Robota Chain. As the hardest working Japanese-German hibachi jockey in Dallas, I have what it takes to be the next King of the Grill.
And action!
They're interrupted by the arrival of 3 rats, 2 of which are Laotian, and Bobby goes out to deal with them while leaving a surprisingly strapped Emilio to deal with the furry one in the kitchen, preferably in a non-boom-boom fashion. I'd personally put out a trap with the one thing that no creature, rat, squirrel, or otherwise can resist.
Boy, that cheese.
But that's just me. Also, kudos for trigger discipline, but I expected nothing less from him. Bobby talks with Chain and who is supposed to be Ted. He probably got swapped with an alien or something. And he explains the rat problem, with Ted's response being what one would expect, though it still doesn't sound right.
Fix this rat problem ASAP. This isn't a food court in El Paso. Let's go, son.
What he's referencing, by the way, is Lynn's Buffet in El Paso. Hey, that kind of rhymed. Where a customer found a rodent in their food back in 2016.
You may not be able to tell what it is right away unless you pick it up.
Also, apparently Chain totaled his WRX while running a stop sign. I'm more surprised that Chain would drive a Subaru than him running a stop sign, sadly. And the Wasana songs head off to bring misery upon the world in their wake, but not before Bobby stops Chain and mentions King of the Grill, followed by a meta joke about it being canceled 15 years before, but it was brought back, like the series was. Hank and the guys are in the alley, and Bill gets an alert that it's time to go hang out with his friends. And yeah, Hank is flabbergasted at the concept of Bill having actual friends. Dale and Boomhauer are convinced that these friends are nothing more than figments of Bill's imagination and think that maybe it's time for someone, and by someone they mean Hank, to go ahead and have a talk with him about it and snap Bill back to reality.
I tell you what, man, you might need to have one of them old talks, man, like one of them dang old come to Jesus type, man.
Boomhauer's right. You have to talk to him, Hank. Even if they're fake, I cannot live in a world where Bill has more friends than me.
Back at the restaurant, Bobby has decided to bring in Dale to get rid of the rat. Not sure how he got there so quick, considering he was just in the alley. Whatever, he does have the most experience with these kinds of things, and hopefully this time it won't turn out to actually be Chuck Mangione.
No, 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 no.
He agrees to do it for free because he doesn't know what the word gratis means. It's Latin for as a kindness or free in American. He sets up a basic trap involving a board, bait, and a trash can. Oh, and we find out that Dale apparently has a Patreon. We switch to Joseph working on a road crew, and he sees Chain out swapping spit with some pretty young blonde thing who, yeah, that's definitely not Connie. So Joseph records their public oral explorations and sends it to Bobby. Notice how Dale doesn't have a picture here, which is very in character. Plus, it could be seen as an in-joke with the dad contact being pictureless and the whole not knowing who his actual biological father is thing. Peggy is still having a hard time being retired and not really having anything to do. And hearing that Bill has friends, like actual friends, meaning he's actually doing something other than sitting around like she is, makes her feel even worse. Hank tells her that it's all fake and decides to follow Bill, who still has the same Ford Escort that he bought from Lane Prattley.
Hey, you sold me an Escort once.
And yeah, the same one that Luann had deemed to be not worth fixing years ago.
I've identified 2 of your problems, Bill. There's no oil in your oil pan, but lots of it in your windshield washer reservoir.
I don't know if we can save this engine. Our best bet might be to take out the floorboards and make this a Flintstones car.
I'd say you should donate it to charity, but charity people have enough problems.
And much to Hank's surprise, Bill's friends are actually real, like really real. But before we explore that further, Dale gives Bobby his next plan to catch the rat the board thing failed. Namely, using another rat known as the Judas rat, which of course is named after Judas Iscariot, the disciple of Jesus who turned heel and betrayed him in exchange for 30 pieces of silver. His name has since become synonymous with traitor, you know, like Benedict Arnold.
Yep, he's Benedict Darling.
Dale's plan for the Judas rat is to track it while it finds the other rat, then blow them both up. Though Bobby vetoes the whole explosive thing, good call, and it's kind of weird that he has to say no to Boom Boom twice when it comes to killing a rat in the same episode. I mean, having to do it twice isn't a whole lot of times, but it's a rather odd amount of times to have to do it. Anywho, as Dale follows the Judas rat into the ceiling, Connie shows up because Bobby wanted to break the news to her that he has a recording of Chain cheating on her. But color Bobby startled silver when Connie explains that he isn't cheating because they have an open relationship.
We both can hook up with other people whenever we feel like it.
Wait, what?
So, I've looked at stuff online. Yeah, it's dangerous, I know. And a lot of folks think that they just kind of shoved the whole ethical non-monogamy thing in there for, let's say, various reasons. But I'm just going to roll with it because I don't really see Connie as the open relationship type. Chain? Oh, absolutely. I don't think he's got a monogamous bone in his body, let alone the one that he's constantly trying to put in other people's bodies. But I can at least buy it based off her explanation of being too busy to just have a single full-time monogamous relationship. And I gotta say, this video made me sick of saying the word monogamous. Flipping on back to the other story, Bill spies Hank outside the barbershop and goes out to meet him because Hank is a tad bit confused because not only are Bill's friends real, but he's also hanging out in a black barbershop, and for those folks who are blind, appreciate you listening, Bill is very white. Bill explains how he went from an army barber who is technically coded as a pinball repairman to working at a North Arlen black barbershop. And this could have been used as a perfect opportunity to explain Luann's whereabouts, seeing as they cut hair together, but no. Instead, we find out that Bill was retired early, and when he got restless, you know, like Hank and Peggy are, Brian recommended he work at a relative's barbershop, and ta-da, Bill works at a North Arlen black barbershop. And hell, I don't blame him if you ever hung out in one. It's pretty damn fun.
You must be out of your goddamn mind. Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever lived. I'll be with you boys in a minute. He was bad in Captain Clay. He bad in Sugar Ray. He bad in that. Who that? The new boy got? Mike Tyson. Look like a bulldog. He bad in him too. He done whipped Mike Tyson there. He whipped all their asses.
Also, we get a mention of Brian, but seriously, we are getting a shortage of Brian in the revival. A problem arises when they go inside, and first the guys treat him oddly when they find out that he's Hank, and I mean oddly in that they're sympathetic and intentionally overly nice to him without him knowing why. And then he finds out why. See, Bill has taken it upon himself to adopt Hank's life as his own. As in, Bill is the one that's married to Peggy, they have an adopted son named Bobbito, and that Hank is the one who's chronically single and suicidal. By the way, why the guys in the shop never called out Bill on his obvious Photoshop job on many of the Peggy photos? Not the motorcycle one, that's from Hank and Peggy's ill-fated single bike trek to Sturgis for Biker Week in Queasy Rider.
You know what? I am going to the Greyhound station to buy myself a ticket to Arlen. I'm sure they will let me sit anywhere I want on the bus.
You can't sit in the bus driver's seat. You can't even talk to him.
I also love how Bill photoshopped his head over Hank's in that iconic wedding photo. Bill has wanted to be Hank for a while. Let's not forget when he shortly got to play the video game version of Hank.
My turn. I'm next. Where do I find Peggy? But I barely got to be Hank at all.
And it could be argued that Bill's interest in Peggy is simply an extension of his longing for Hank's life, which may be rooted in the success of Hank's marriage and ultimately life, while Bill's sham of a marriage to Lenore, well, I can't say that it crashed and burned because it was more of a Wright brothers kind of flight rather than cruising at 30,000 feet like Hank's. Bill's marriage was like that episode of The Twilight Zone, written by the legendary Richard Matheson, by the way, where there's a gremlin or something out on the wing tearing the plane apart. Yeah, well, that plane was their marriage and that gremlin was Lenore.
I thought I saw a ghost or a horrible hobgoblin or...
How you doing, baby? Surprised?
Lenore!
They have a conversation outside where Bill begs Hank not to disclose the truth, and Hank has a very good reason to have an issue with the whole Bill stealing his life and painting him as, well, Bill.
You photoshopped my wife's head on some buxom trollop. Now I have to imagine you looking at that and enjoying it. It's a half a commandment short of adultery, Bill.
Alright, so if we're going to bring commandments into this, then we need to talk about at least one, possibly two, depending on your denomination, commandment, and that's the 10th commandment. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods. Goods as in house, wife, servants, that kind of stuff. Though some faiths considered coveting your neighbor's wife to be a separate 9th commandment, either way, Bill has been coveting Hank's, well, everything. And he's been doing it for decades. And as far as coveting his neighbor's wife, yeah.
Hold on a second. I think I hear something in the bushes.
Hank, you are just stalling.
I am not stalling. I am stopping. There's someone in that bush. Hey, you!
It is your imagination which got us into this mess in the first place. Do you want these dreams to end or not?
God dang it, Bill!
I'm leaving.
What?
Well, Dale, I just get so lonely. And we both like playing Boggle. Of course, she always wins, doesn't she? Please don't tell Hank.
I want her for the carpool lane.
I think it's safe to say that Bill has coveted the hell out of Peggy. Bobby and Connie are having a sit-down conversation about ethical non-monogamy, and the one thing that stuck out to me in this conversation is Connie claiming that slut-shaming is the worst thing that a person can do, and I think that might be incorrect. I can think of quite a few things that are significantly worse than slut-shaming. Hell, a lot of them I can't say because YouTube will freak out. I'm just saying I'm iffy on Connie's views here because being slut-shamed cannot be worse than being, struggle snuggled. Not defending slut-shaming, I'm not doing that at all, but there are much, much worse things, and to say otherwise is, I guess the word would be naive. Bobby tries to test the waters, but Connie makes it clear that he's not non-monogamy material. He then goes to the kitchen where Dale has another idea. This one is Sexy Rat. Basically, its job job is to seduce the other rats. I believe the technical term is the honey pot.
So she played you good. It's called the honey pot. Should have known better.
Though Bobby is not convinced that this is gonna work. Oh, and apparently the Judas rat pulled a Judas and turned on Dale. Imagine that. Peggy is admiring her teaching trophies. I love the callback to her only winning because she ran as Mrs. Hank Hill in 1999, though she is missing a few trophies here for 1996 and 1998, which we have seen in past episodes. And yeah, I have no idea what that middle one is. Funny thing about the trophies here, though, they did get it right in that the 1999 one does say Mrs. Hank Hill. We saw that back when she won it in Little Horrors of Shop.
On behalf of everyone who has ever fallen out of a plane and lived to win her 3rd straight Substitute Teacher of the Year award, I am King of the School! Woo!
But also keep in mind that since this is set in like 2023 or 2024 and Bobby is 21, so that means that she won these trophies before Bobby was even born. Just thought I'd point that out. Anywho, Hank tells Peggy what's going on with Bill, the black barbershop, him claiming to be married to her, and Peggy gives what I found to be the funniest line in the episode.
I bet black barbershop Peggy would have gotten the job at the community college.
Because she's black?
Since she doesn't really have anything going on or nothing really to do, she sees herself as boring, and she's actually fine with Bill acting like he's married to her. She's even rather resistant when Hank wants her to put a stop to it. I do not think that Hank's out of line here. I guarantee if the roles were reversed, then Peggy would be all up in arms. But Peggy is finding a way to live vicariously through this mysterious black barbershop Peggy character. She goes over to talk with Bill, but rather than put a stop to things, she brainstorms with him about accomplishments that he could claim black barbershop Peggy had attained. Like, she is seriously all in on this. That is, until Bill starts taking it too far, as if he hadn't already done that, when he wants her to make an appearance at the shop and give him a kiss in front of everyone, therefore taking something that's completely imaginary and making it a little bit more concrete. And at which point Peggy isn't exactly on board anymore, and she demands that Bill end his lies. Bobby is finishing up at the restaurant, filming more content for his King of the Grill entry attempt, and he hears a noise, but rather than the expected rat, he finds a woman. Yeah, I bet a lot of guys wish that'd be the case. This particular woman is Willow.
Willow! You idiots!
No, not a 17-year-old Warwick Davis. She's a maker of artisan soap and is there for their high-quality grease. You know, kind of like the liposuction clinic from Fight Club. Oh, and spoiler alert, I like Willow, the lady Bobby meets and the movie. They end up hanging out inside drinking sake, and fun little thing here, when they say cheers, they each say it in a different language. Bobby in Japanese and Willow in German.
Kampai!
Prost!
You know, because they're in a German-Japanese fusion restaurant. Seriously, just throw in some Italian influence and they can just call it the Axis powers. They end up drinking a little bit too much and over at Bobby's for the evening. Hank sees a bunch of hubbubaloo going on over at Bill's and asks what's going on, with Bill explaining that he ended his lies about Peggy. But rather than them getting divorced or telling them the truth, no, he just killed Peggy off. And all the people are there because that's apparently what normal folks do when someone loses a loved one. Funny, nobody brought me any food when my mom died, but whatever. It's nice of these folks to be there for someone who they believe is in mourning, and Bill has got a point here.
I guess in the black community, people visit and bring food to help you grieve.
I think every community does that.
I don't know, Hank. A lot of horrible stuff has happened to me, and nobody's ever brought me food.
Hank goes back home where Peggy is watching a video of kite surfing in Belize, which she could very much go do. They've got the money. Go on a vacation. I mean, how much money do you think a couple needs to retire at the age of 50? I'm pretty sure they can afford to take a trip. Also, that thumbnail up in the corner there looks very familiar.
Fly! Joseph, honey, that fish doesn't want to play.
Anywho, Hank tells her that her character was killed off in the newest season, and she ain't happy that fictional Peggy has shuffled off the mortal coil. She heads over to Bill's to tell him off and expose his charade, but she catches him discussing her and stops in her tracks. He gives this long speech about how she competed in boggle tournaments, a nod to Peggy the Boggle Champ.
What an incredible upset! Peggy Hill is the new Texas State Boggle Champion! Now, back to a description of the hotel fire safety procedures with your host, Chuck Mangione.
That she competed in a beauty contest, which is true, she did. She had no chance of winning, but by golly, she went for it back in Peggy's Pageant Fever.
I think women like you shouldn't be in a pageant if you're not prepared to be judged by women like me.
And that she wrote musings for The Bystander, which began in Peggy's Headache.
Doyle Harkavy. If you ask me, Doyle Harkavy wasn't that good.
Thank you, Mom. It's about time somebody said it. Of course coffee wakes you up in the morning. I mean, that's how they advertise it.
Yeah, all the episodes he mentions have Peggy's name in the title. Interesting thing there. She's moved by his words of real grief and decides not to blow everything up. Not in a literal sense, of course. She wasn't going to use actual explosives. She's not Dale. Satisfied, she leaves, passing one of the guys from the barbershop along the way and making him believe that she was a ghost. Kind of short-sighted to think that none of the people in attendance would ever cross paths with Peggy in a city that's not exactly a metropolis. The next morning, Bobby wakes up and finds Willow sleeping in the bathtub. Okay, but he and Joseph are interrupted when Connie shows up, and yeah, we get the awkward moment when Willow walks in. Connie, knowing that she and Bobby had hooked up the night before, though Connie has no reason to be mad at Bobby, she's in a relationship and has made it very clear that she just wants to be friends with Bobby, even saying that she couldn't be monogamous due to time and that Bobby wouldn't be able to handle non-monogamy. So basically, they are not gonna be together. She mentioned some cookies she sent to him that he didn't get, and Joseph shoots his non-monogamous shot, though it fails in the same way that Joseph fails to properly pronounce ethical non-monogamy. Oh, and when Willow finds out that Connie leads the lifestyle that she does, well,
I heard about that when I was at SMU. It's just some BS college girls say to get side dick.
Yeah, did I mention that I like Willow? Because, yeah, I like Willow. Connie is not exactly happy with Willow's views on things, but Bobby invites her to stay and hang out, which makes Connie visibly uncomfortable. We see why as the episode ends and the wrong person gets the cookies meant for Bobby, and they've got a note that says that Bobby is marriage material, not non-ethical monogamy material. My interpretation is that she sees him as someone to settle down with and she wants to settle down with, but rather than just tell him in any of the one-on-one conversations that they've had, she chose to send it with cookies. Okie dokie. Oh, and apparently Sexy Rat worked. So, Peggy's Fadeout. It's entertaining, though like many of the newer episodes, it feels rushed, like they're trying to fit 20 episodes worth of story into 10. It sometimes felt jarring going back and forth between plots because sometimes it seemed random as to when it would switch. And every plot going in this episode could have used more time and attention. It's got some good lines. It's one of the funnier revival episodes, to me at least, and I appreciate all the callbacks that they did. Maybe the whole Bill being in love with Peggy thing died with Black Barbershop Peggy. I'm glad they fill us in on Bobby owning 15% of the restaurant, explaining why he does so much and works so many hours. I still do not like Ted's voice. I do like the idea of Bill being back in a barbershop, and it kind of fits that it's a black barbershop. Again, it's a fun place to hang out. I could totally see Bill fitting in there. It furthered the whole Peggy being restless in retirement storyline, though again, they don't mention why they haven't gone on their cross-country motorcycle road trip that they talked about in the exact episode that Bill has a picture from. Overall, it's not a bad episode. I enjoyed it. It's one of the better of the revival. It had jokes, a decent story. We're introduced to Willow, who's a rather interesting character, and if nothing else, we learn that Dale's crazy ideas sometimes surprisingly find success.
Mr. Gribble was right.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see y'all next time.
I'm not supposed to talk to you, Mr. Dotrieve. My mom gave me this whistle in case you start giving me advice.
You know, my only regret with Lenore is that I didn't make that one last grand romantic gesture to win her back.
Wait, so maybe it's not too late for me?
It's not.
Maybe I don't have to end up like you?
You don't.
All right!